they're not going to bring you anybody that is shit. Okay? And there is so much shit country. I'm not saying what I am or what I'm not. But I'm just saying, I want you to pay attention. If Rogue picks them to come here, then come and check them out. Even if you've never heard of them, just because you hadn't heard of them doesn't mean they're very successful, and it doesn't mean that they're not badass, all right? So please, follow Rogue, get on the internet, get on the Instagram and all the Facebook, and pay attention to who they have coming over here, because this is just a couple of guys who believe in it. And they're booking my hotels, they're getting us from place to place, setting up the PAs, and doing all of it for the love of country music so that you can have a chance to come out here on a Saturday night. And that is everything.
What is up, you rogues, rebels, and renegades? Welcome to episode 80 of the Rogue Country Podcast. How you guys doing? We have India Ramey on the podcast today, talking about her new album, Villain Era, about touring Texas, and it was just a really great chat, so make sure you stick around for it. But first, how have you guys been? What have you been up to? What gigs you've been going to? Please drop us a message and let us know how you are keeping country music alive in the UK. We're all in this together, and we've got to keep fighting, and that's the thing that I have been wondering for the past couple of years and struggling with, to see how we can actually make a difference to the UK country scene here without succumbing to the same usual shit that always happens. You know, there's memberships, there's always memberships, there's awards, but what is actually making a real difference? What's getting, bums on seats? What's selling tickets? What's making artists grow? Because it's not fucking awards, because everyone's an award winner nowadays. And it's not these organizations that are expecting you to subscribe to tell you things you already know and not giving you the gigs and support and fan base you need. It's all the same money going around, and I don't understand what people truly are benefiting from it. But I think it's a lot of new people to the scene, and a lot of people are scared of not knowing where they are. And when I joined the scene in 2016, a long time ago now, 10 years, the BCMA was the big thing. That was the thing that, you got in with them, they helped you, you pushed forward. But did it help any artists? That's why we set up Rogue. It wasn't helping the artists we liked. It didn't help the music we liked. It wasn't pushing it to the fans that we cared about. It wasn't pushing people who cared about us. So what was it really doing except, just being a circle jerk? And that's what these things devolve into. And listen, you can say Rogue is guilty of that as well, but we're pushing our friends, we're pushing people who promote good music, and it's not just about who we're related to or who's paying a membership. And this is the thing that I'm struggling to comprehend and kind of push forward and through, because live music, country music is dying in the UK. Last night we did a Bob Sumner at the Swinging Arm. Now the Swinging Arm, we've had Tommy Prine play there, we've had Jesse Daniel, Alex Connolly, Sierra Farrell was meant to play there before we upgraded the venue. And last night we sold 8 tickets. And I don't know what the answer to these things are, because Bob Sumner was great. Tom Hodge, who opened the show, is great. He's a really fucking good country artist who loves that Waylon and Willie genre of 70s great country music, and it reflects in his artwork. But I just don't know what the disconnect is right now. I don't know how we reach the younger fans. I don't know how we reach the people who want to take a chance on this type of music. Because like we were saying last night, people are going to Luke Combs and Luke Combs tributes. And what is it that gets that trickle down? What's that thing that gets those people who, are kind of into the Yellowstone TV show or whatever, and gets them to really care about this music and support homegrown artists? I have no idea. I'm just rambling and ranting. Because, it's a year since I was in country music, people, talking about the country music scene and what we've been doing at Rogue to help. And, the guys over at the Dukes of Highgate, who are absolutely phenomenal. And, in my head, one of the pillars of the scene, one of the people who are doing incredible. But also, they were interviewing the UK CMA guys. And what the fuck have they done in a year? I'll wait. Fuck all. But they've been taking people's money for it. But I don't know what the answer is. I just know it's not taking people's fucking money. It's not taking artists' money. That's hard enough as it is. But you're taking money on, the promise of gigs and the promise of showcases. And it's all a bunch of bollocks. But I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how we're going to shoot straight. I don't know how we're going to get these artists the recognition they deserve. I don't know how we get the fans in front of the music that they love, because, you know, on top of the UK scene being just shit, the algorithms are shit. This is probably the worst time and best time to be a musician. All the algorithms are tanking, but you can still hopefully win the lottery and go viral or reach people in a way that is meaningful at some point. And that's all we want. We just want to be able to create meaning with our art. But answers on a postcard, guys. But how are you guys doing? I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing better than I am. I want you guys to be loving the country music and the roots music that you love. I want you to be supporting the artists that you support. And it's hard, man. There's so many gigs, and, you know, gigs are getting cancelled. So do you risk buying a ticket? Do you risk traveling for a gig that may get cancelled? As Sean knows, we had to cancel Grey Lyle, and Grey Lyle, Grammy award-winning artist. Grammy award-winning artist. One of the most prolific voice actresses ever. We sold 5 tickets and we had to cancel the show. It's insane what we're struggling with right now. And it seems to be across the board. I talked to India about this, and it's one of those things where I don't know the answer. It seems like it's so ephemeral and so fleeting that, you know, I don't know how we get those folks to listen. I don't know how I get people to listen to this podcast, but I'm so grateful people do. And I think that's, again, all we can hope for. We just keep plowing ahead and hope we make some connection with someone. This is episode 80 of the Rogue Country Podcast with Mike West and India Ramey. Cool. So you're heading to Texas, is it, for a run of shows?
Yes. Yeah, we've got a kind of a brief run of shows. It's just kind of Thursday through Sunday, and then we'll come back.
And how have you been finding the shows now you have kind of Villain Era out there with the world? Are you excited to kind of play these songs to different folks? Have you been playing these songs in the set for a while?
Yeah, we've been playing a few of them over the past, like since July of last year. We've been playing a few of them, but there are some that we've been kind of holding back, like We Ride at Dawn. We played that for the first time at the album release show at the 5 Spot in Nashville last week, and it's added to the set now. So I'm excited to be doing all of the songs.
Amazing. Obviously, the response so far has been incredible for the album. That must be kind of quite vindicating for you guys to, you know, have it out there and have that reception.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 15 years, and this is my 6th album. And my last album, like I've gotten press, the past like 3 or 4 albums, but this one is it's really hit a lot bigger than I dreamed it would. So I just got my copy of American Songwriter, and I still can't believe it. I'm in print in that magazine.
Oh, yeah, I literally just saw that post as I was setting up. Congratulations again. That just must be another thing to kind of tick off the bucket list.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like, my husband was like, look, you're on the same page as Tori Amos, and you both got 4 stars. And like, freshman in college me is just flipping out.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm obviously kind of 6 albums in. I feel like, especially from Baptized by the Blaze to now, you've really found like the identity of like gothy tonk and your sound and your voice. Was there anything in the early albums or in your early songwriting process that kind of shone through as, oh, this is where we're going to end up with Villain Era and the sound that you really play now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you can even go back to Snake Handler and their songs like Devil's Blood, and then there are songs on Shallow Graves, like the title track Shallow Graves, and Up to No Good, that where I was really leaning into some honky tonk and just like not being afraid of being country, because that was the thing. Like, I always, when I set out from the very beginning, I set out to do a classic country sound. Like I wanted to sound like my heroes, and I was really inspired by Nico Case's Furnace Room Lullabies. And I lived in Birmingham at the time, and I love Birmingham. I spent most of my life there, but something about the music scene in Birmingham, it just was so prickly about
Mm,
country music. Like it was so hard to break as a country artist there. And so I had to like Americana, I had to give it the Americana treatment and like apologize for being country
mm.
and and just dip a toe in the country every now and then. And like at some point I was just like, I don't care. I just want to do this. And when I worked with Eric Korn, I told him exactly what I wanted. And I was even specific. I was like, I want the guitars to sound like this. Like,
Mm.
I want all the guitars to sound like they're somewhere between 1960 and 1964. And I was super specific. And he listened to me, he honored my wishes, and we got exactly what I've been trying to get all these years.
That's so cool. And I think it's encouraging and it's cool to see people not being afraid to be country anymore. Because I think,
Yeah.
especially for the mainstream and from like a UK perspective, Americana has been this huge dominating thing where it seemed lowbrow to call things country music and like
Hmm.
embrace the arguably some of the best music ever produced between like the 50s and the 70s of country music is,
Yeah.
incredible music. And it's people have shied away from it for so long, and it just seems to have been a real turning point, which is heartwarming to see. Like I do slightly darker country as well, but it's you should be proud to be able to call yourself country music and have that kind of connection, and especially when you're coming at it with such love and reverence and knowledge of what came before. It's like hopefully the Americana label will kind of fade a touch because that doesn't really, if you think of Americana, it doesn't give you the sound of like that twangy Telecaster or the pedal steel. It's kind of an amalgamous amorphous sound that doesn't pin to anything the way country does.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And and it's such a conundrum too, because it's none of our faults that country music kind of got a bad name.
Mm.
It's Music Row's fault. It's Music Row's fault for appropriating hip hop music and giving it a southern accent, and
Hmm.
and creating this whole like I don't know, revival of the patriarchy, and just talking about girls' butts shaking and stuff like all the bro country. And like so I think that it's that kind of country music that made country music sort of a four-letter word for a little while. And I have to and I can't like hate on, having to go under the Americana umbrella, because thank God for the Americana
Mm.
Association, and thank God for the Americana genre for making a space
Mm.
for real roots music, and and for making a space for us country artists under that umbrella. But I also think that it's time for all of us to come out of the closet and say, we're country, damn it.
Yeah, a
we're,
hundred
we're
percent.
country AF.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I think it's kind of crazy that it seems to be the niche genres and yourself dressed in like the more gothic honky tonk side of things. It's like the more niche and like more kind of less traditionally dressed, less kind of traditional looking country quote unquote acts are the ones bringing the sound back and bringing the love of actual country music to it instead of what the mainstream should be doing. It's the niche ones that are really flying the flag and holding the torch for the sound of it all.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I think that I honestly, I think it's cooler that way. Like I always say, like my sister is 10 years older than me, and she was a punk rocker in the 80s when I was a little girl. And um, so like she kind of raised me to be a punk rocker, right? And so I have this like punk rock heart, and I always say that I feel like making real country music in Nashville and in the country music universe, where you exist and where I exist, is the most punk rock thing that we can do
Mm.
right now.
No, 100%. And going on to kind of the upbringing of the 80s punk, obviously the Cramps, you're a massive
Yeah.
kind of Bride of Frankenstein horror fan. Was that something formative in like your early years and teenage years that you've obviously carried through to my like villain era where you've got this kind of aesthetic and this sound?
The funny thing is it goes all the way back to like fifth and sixth grade, maybe even fourth grade for me, because I was a lot cooler as an elementary school kid than I was as a teenager and a college student. Because like I, I've been pretty open to that. I'm a diagnosed autistic, and I'm a high masking autistic. And so there was like a whole swath of my life that I lost where I was masking,
Mm.
and just in this Herculean effort to fit in. And whenever I started working with a therapist and sort of started to sort out all the parts of me, she said, "Who, when was the last time you remember being truly yourself?"
Mm.
And I said, like, I thought it was like fifth or sixth grade. And she was like, "Be her." And that's what I've done. The past 10 years, I've just been trying to get back to that cool kid that was into all that. And that was like that was like really new wave. And, like trying to form rock bands in my carport
Mm.
in Rome, Georgia. And, and loving all of those like old classic horror movies and B movies. And that was what I was passionate about before I started trying to push it down,
Mm.
and because some boy in sixth grade said he thought I was weird.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking what kids can do. I was just talking about this with my wife because we were dropping my kid off at nursery, and there was a little boy with a pink backpack. And I was like, and he was so happy and he was skipping along. And I just felt sad because I knew at some point the world's going to get his hooks in him. And some asshole kid's going to make him feel bad for that pink backpack when
Yeah,
he should be allowed to just wear it happily and, love the things you love and enjoy it. And you just hate. Because I was lucky. I had like a group of friends that I was around in high school that, I still had the long hair and the patch jacket and listened to metal and stuff. But if I didn't have those people, would I have cut my hair off? Would I have tried to hide in those things and
right.
not had those kind of connections and experiences? And it's just heartbreaking to think how many people have had to go through that and then
Yeah,
rediscover themselves in their kind of 30s and onwards.
yeah, it's a really damaging thing. And it's, I mean, I honestly can't imagine anything more profoundly um, hurtful than losing your identity for any amount of time. Because our identity is so important to us as we navigate the world and in our
Mm.
human experience. And it was a real it was a really wild ride for me to kind of unravel all of that. But I'm so comfortable in my own skin now, and I have a partner in life that loves me for who I am, and
Mm.
loves me even more now that I'm fully my authentic self. And I think that it's coming through in the music. There's a lot of joy in
Mm.
it.
Amazing. And then that obviously help inform the songwriting because I saw a thing you'd said in an interview where it was like villain era and my villain era and owning that term was more about not necessarily being a bad or an evil person as, villain quote unquote
Right.
means, but to not be a people pleaser anymore and be a villain in the eyes of those toxic people that have come from that did kind of that realization of, you were the happiest at like when you were younger and that whole kind of process through therapy did that inform the songwriting and what this album means to you?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because like most of my life, I've spent trying to be what other people wanted me to be or what other people needed me to be. I've spent many years dimming my light and saying yes when I really felt like saying no. And when you do that, you also kind of collect the type of people that depend on you to say yes when you really mean no. And when you start saying no to them, they don't react well,
No.
and the smear campaign starts, and they go out and tell everybody that you're terrible, you're a terrible person, what's wrong with her, she's changed, and all that stuff. And it's scary when that happens because you start losing people, but you start losing the people that you didn't need in the first
Yeah.
place. And you have to just get really comfortable with being the bad guy in their narrative
Yeah.
and knowing that's all it is their
Mm.
narrative. It's not reality.
No. And I think it's because I've had similar experiences. And I think the important thing when you're kind of the other side of it is the sky didn't fall down, the world didn't end. So all
Yeah.
those things you were worried about when you were in that space of people pleasing, again, it was a lot of like your projections and things to just appease this person, and the world was still spinning after you said no, and it's an important and powerful thing to kind of own that.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to really get comfortable, and I'm still not, I'm still learning to get comfortable with the notion that you can't control other people's reactions
Yeah.
to whatever your response is, whatever your answer is, and you have to just be okay with that, and you have to be true to yourself and your needs at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I really enjoyed about the track Nobody's Coming off this
Mhm.
album, because the title could give an air of hopelessness to it, but it's
Yeah.
you're gonna save yourself, like in the line, you have to save myself. And I saw it as kind of a spiritual sequel to the title track of Baptized by the Blaze. Was that something that you figured out as you were writing that song, or was it kind of from all that thought process and learning that those two songs have kind of been pulled out of?
I think the idea of Nobody's Coming was sort of just it sort of presented itself when I was going through all of that healing, and it presented itself in some of the darkest times, but it was a realization that like nobody's going to solve this for me.
Mm,
No pill that I've been taking is going to solve this. No therapist, no person in my life is going to solve this for me. It is up to me to do this work, and this work is what will save me. I'm the only one that can do it. And I've always, like for years, I've always used quicksand as a metaphor for depression and anxiety and OCD. I have OCD too. And an OCD loop can really feel like quicksand. And it feels like you can't get out. It's like a black hole. Um, but I've proven to myself time and time again that there's always a rope, there's always a
mm,
branch, even if it's just like the slightest little gratitude practice where I'm like 5 things that I'm grateful for this morning. And one morning I was so low, the only thing that I could think of was toilet paper. I was
mm,
like, I'm so grateful that I have toilet paper this morning. But you can start to climb out if you go within. I think we're all a lot stronger than we believe ourselves to be,
mm,
and that's what Nobody's Coming is about. It was inspired by by that scene in Kill Bill 2 when Beatrix Kiddo digs herself out of that
mm.
grave, and the process that she goes through where she just starts slow, like she just figures out how to get her cowboy boot off, and she's got a knife in the cowboy boot and she can cut the rope with that, and so on until she finally crawls out of that deep dark hole.
Mm.
That's what Nobody's Coming means to me.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. And I think it's such a powerful message and a powerful song for those reasons. And what I love about obviously like the cinematic influences of this album is that you have these kind of heavy subjects and framed in such an optimistic way, but also you have the kind of more out there songs like Scattered and
Mhm.
Smothered about being looking like Alice Cooper in a little black dress, and you have Cult
Yeah.
Money. Was it intentional to make sure that the album didn't feel so confessional and heavy, that and then you had these moments of levity and kind of self-reflection in more witty ways?
Yeah, I mean, because that's the other part of me that I haven't really let out there a whole lot is that like I have a really good sense of humor. And I always tell people that humor is my favorite trauma response. And my whole family is really funny. Like my sister was a comedian in the Groundlings in Los
Hmm.
Angeles,
No way.
and she did stand up comedy, and so like everybody in my family is really funny, and humor has been our favorite way to navigate some really dark times. Like it's gotten us through a lot, and so I decided to just let that come out, and like write songs that were funny that made me laugh, and just like like Loretta Lynn had a way of doing that. She was never telling a story that was, I mean, not a lot. I mean, besides, Coal Miner's Daughter was a inspirational, happy, loving story, but it still had tragedy in it. Fifth City is a tragic story. You Ain't Woman Enough is tragic. but she did it in like this tongue-in-cheek, lighthearted toe tapper way. And
Yeah.
I think that there's a beauty and an art to that.
Yeah. No, totally. And with those songs, was it kind of listening to Loretta? And it seems like a lot of the earlier country songs from the 50s and 60s had that witticism to them and that kind of levity dealing with tragedy. Were they the songs that you kind of were influenced by and were listening to when you were writing this album?
Yeah, yeah. I walk a lot in my neighborhood. I walk every day. It's really good for my mental health. And when I walk, I listen to like 50s and 60s country, and I listen to some contemporary country and cowpunk too. Like River Shook. I love to walk to River Shook. But most of it is like Marty Robbins and Ernest Tubb and Loretta Lynn and George Jones um, and Johnny Cash. And so that's just sort of like in my heart and in my head whenever I sit down to tell my stories.
Hmm. No, that's so cool. And with this album was recorded in LA compared to the previous ones. Was there a
Yeah.
major decision behind that move? And was that did it help because this has such a cinematic, like spaghetti western vibe to it? Did recording in LA help capture that a bit more than you thought it would?
It was sort of, the whole thing was so serendipitous because I already had the vision for this album in my head, that it would be sort of this like Tarantino score with Loretta Lynn and Johnny Cash scoring it. And then Eric Korn, my producer, um, I think he had just sort of been watching what was happening with Baptized by the Blaze, and he reached out to me and the lady that helps me with management things, and he wanted to do it, but he's in Los Angeles, he's in California, and so we talked about, would you come to Nashville, or would I come out there? And it just so happened that it was just easier for me to go out there and for him to put a band together
Hmm.
out there. And when we kind of realized that, I was like, well, this is perfect anyway, because this album needs to be recorded in California.
Hmm.
And it came out just perfectly. It just every musician that played on it, they listened to my vision for the album. They listened to the imagery that I wanted and what the song was about. They cared, and they executed just perfectly.
No, amazing. So, did you have the 10 songs ready for when you got there, or did you write anything while you were out there? Or
Yeah, I actually had 20 songs that I sent to Eric a couple of months before we went into the studio, and we, kind of like corresponded back and forth, and talked about, which ones we wanted on the album. He had some favorites, I had some favorites, and we, kind of whittled it down to the 10, and we ended up doing two others that are going to be just standalone singles after the album comes out.
oh, amazing. And with kind of getting the musicians on board, was it just you and an acoustic guitar initially, and or did you have melodies and ideas in your head and they worked through those? Or
Yeah, I like usually like, I mean, I when I write songs, I write it. Like I chart it out, and I write the melody as I'm writing the lyrics. So I already had everything recorded on my iPhone. I had work tapes, and I sent the work tapes to Eric, and we made some arrangement adjustments. Eric suggested, let's don't solo over the chorus. Maybe let's go to F instead and do like an
hmm.
F, A minor, E7 kind of thing here. So we worked out some of those bugs. We worked out a couple of lyrical bugs here and there, but the songs were there
Hmm.
already. And so I just handed those work tapes over to him, and he handed them over to the musicians, and they reviewed them before they came in. We gave them, the chord progressions, and they made their own charts. And then we recorded as a live band. We recorded we tracked everything as a band over 3 days, and talked about intros and arrangements, and it was all just sort of this like collaborative band experience. It was incredible.
Amazing. And do you think that will inform the next album down the line? Is that how you'd like to do it again, or did you take anything away that really cemented how you want the next album to sound and feel?
Yeah, I mean, I like you said when we first started, I really feel so strongly that I've found my sound and I've found my
Mm,
voice. So I really feel like I'll stay in this lane for the next one. The songs will be different, the stories will be different. Um, the the whole theme of the album will be different, but I think the core sound and vibe will be very similar to
mm.
this one.
Amazing. And outside of kind of the musical influences, you talked a bit about Kill Bill, were there any kind of horror or cinematic influences that really jumped out at you during like the songwriting process of this and how you wanted the end product to sound?
Yeah, I mean, like Kill Bill was very present in my mind. Like when I wrote 6 Feet Under, I was thinking about
Hmm.
Kill Bill too. But there's always like I don't know, there's always just sort of like a montage of that sort of like grainy 1930s, 1940s
Hmm.
horror flick in my mind whenever I'm right, like Dead to Me. There's a little black and white horror film going on in my head while I'm writing that.
No, that's so cool. We like me and my wife. We were talking about. I've not seen Kill Bill in years, and it's like she was talking about the other day. I think we're gonna have to set up and like do a double feature of the two of them because it's one. It's
Yeah.
such a stylized, interesting film. From what I remember, from I think I watched it when it came out. I got it on Blockbuster however many years, but it's such a stylized thing that it must be quite a quick way to kind of communicate to someone when you're
Mhm.
in a collaborative process to say, Kill Bill-esque or Tarantino by Loretta and Johnny Cash, and it has those things that like are instantaneous and you know what you're kind of going for.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I mean, it always my writing is very. I like to try to be very visual in my writing, and so it's always good for me to have like some kind of cinema going on in my head. Like, I mean, I would love to be. I'm sort of like a wannabe screenplay
Hmm.
writer. I would love to write a movie at some point because I just have like all of these stories and visions in my head, and so and I just love. I think that Quentin Tarantino just has a lovely way of setting a scene, even when
Hmm.
it's gruesome, even when it's terrifying. He really paints a picture. He does art with his film, and in the world of Marvel superhero movies and action movies, and they all kind of look the same.
Yeah.
They're all sort of the McDonald's of movies. I like to go back to the art
Yeah.
of film.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's what I've always loved, especially about the old horror films and stuff, is it's practical effects. And, I'd rather see Bela Lugosi turn into a little plastic flapping bat than any of the CGI slop that's coming out nowadays. And it's one of those things where
Yes.
there's just like a uniqueness and an earnestness to it that is undeniable. And I think that again is what relates back to country music so well, is it's so earnest and kind of even if the technology and the people weren't of kind of a time that we look back now, obviously like music from the 50s and 60s is like 70 years ago. So it's, it's dated, but it's not in the same way that those old black and white horror films are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like, there's a horror film when you mentioned the bat that there's a horror film called The Bat. And they've got like the little rubber bats that
Yeah.
they're just, it's supposed to be terrifying. And it's funny because it's not terrifying or whatever. But yes, like I would like to see that. I would like to see like what human beings can do to create a vibe and a scene in a movie without computers.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the reason why Nosferatu is so enduring and is considered a classic is the art of the shadows
Mm.
that were used in that movie. I mean, it's a silent film, and it is terrifying because of what they did with
Yeah.
shadows. And it just requires so much more of the human imagination to be able to come up with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the that's the fun of seeing it, is like, wow, how did they do that?
Yeah. No.
And when you watch something that's like generated by computers and AI, you know how they did it. They
Yeah.
just typed some shit on the keyboard.
No, definitely. Even just before I started, I was just scrolling through Threads, and I saw Leica, who are like the stop motion film company. They're releasing another thing, and I saw the trailer, and I was like, it's so much better because I was looking at the stop motion thing, being like, how did they do that? Like the depth and the scale of a stop motion thing has such more intrigue and interest to me than, oh, it was a green screen and it was,
Yeah,
people are working hard on these CGI things, but it's not got the same kind of tangibility to it. And
yeah,
it's just one of those hard things where I think people underestimate how good it is to be limited by your tools and to be able to kind of earnestly do something in a studio that you can't just do through AI or computerization and stuff. And I saw a clip from I think it's a TV show called Hacks, and it's an AI guy trying to push AI on a comedian, and she says, "Why are you trying to optimize the creative experience?"
yeah.
And it's like that's it. It's like, why are we trying to optimize what should be difficult in a sense? It should be something that you come through hard work and most importantly, creativity.
I agree. I agree. Like I feel like the chemicals in our brain that are needed to create something and to go through that struggle of creation, I think that they benefit us, and the
Mm,
and the dopamine that you get from when you're like, I finally did it, I wrote a great one, or
yeah.
oh, we got that bat to almost look real. I think that we need those chemicals, and I
Yeah.
think that we're kind of cheating ourselves when we cut the corners.
Yeah, no, totally. And even like one of my favorite movies is Jaws, and I recently watched Thrash on Netflix, which is like a shark film. All the sharks are CGI. I just think that there's something in our brains, and the suspension
Mhm.
of disbelief is different compared to like
Yeah,
practical versus CGI.
I agree. Yeah.
But with kind of again the limited having it tracked as a live band in the studio, was that something that you found had challenges or advantages to as kind of doing it with a whole band?
Um, I was terrified. That was the my imposter syndrome drove me to the studio every day because
Mm,
I was playing in a live band with Ted Russell Camp and Eugene Edwards and Chris Masterson and Kevin Brown, and like all these. I mean, these people are seriously great musicians.
mm.
I mean, like Eugene Edwards plays with Dwight Yoakam, and so and my producer's like, okay, we'll play guitar with them and keep up with them.
Yeah,
But it was one of those things where at the end of the first day, I was like, holy shit, I did that. I
yeah.
played with those guys, and I did keep up with them for the most part. And so again, it's that struggle of creativity, and I got a big dopamine hit at the
Yeah.
end of the day every day.
Yeah, no, I do think as a musician, the only way you ever really improve is with other musicians that will elevate you. And I think it's such
Yes,
an interesting thing that, you need that kind of challenge and you need that push and you need that kind of view to ascend to. And only working with musicians gets you that as much as you can like play and rehearse and be a solo artist until you have those experiences with musicians, even necessarily, it doesn't have to be Dwight Yoakam's guitar player. It's just someone that is going to push you and make sure you're present in the music playing with someone else.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was one of the benefits of just throwing all caution to the wind and moving to Nashville, because everybody's so good here.
Mm,
Like you have to, you don't have a choice but to get better,
yeah.
and because your peers and all the people that you're around make you better.
Mm. No, definitely. And I think, how have you found, obviously, you're doing this run in Texas, and I saw Joshua Headley, who's a Nashville native, who
Yes.
plays his Roberts Westerns. Well, he kind of put a post out a while ago saying he's gonna kind of cease touring for the most part. How is touring going in the States from your perspective? Because I know there's that kind of clickbait articles about Blue Dot Fever because Post Malone and a lot of big artists
Mhm.
are canceling gigs and stuff. But is that affecting kind of your shows or your plans for touring across the States?
Well, blue dot fever is not really affecting me because I'm a blue dot. so, so I'm good there. But the economy is crap
Mm,
right now in the United States, and people can't afford gas and they can't afford
yeah,
groceries. So it's hard for them to, rationalize buying a concert ticket.
yeah,
And COVID-19 with the lockdown, that was extremely necessary lockdown, but a lot of music venues closed
yeah.
during that time and they haven't come back and they haven't opened. So it's a little bottlenecked out there. It's hard to get booked because
Mm,
everybody's trying to get booked at the same time. And people, I still think that I think we're all traumatized,
mm,
like we're traumatized on a daily basis and we still haven't recovered from the lockdown trauma. And I think that it kind of like I think everybody's kind of in functional freeze,
yeah.
like it's hard to motivate to get out and go to a show. It's hard
Mm,
for me to do that. So I have a lot of empathy for all of the reasons why it's hard to get people to come out, but we have to keep doing it. Like
yeah.
I have to keep doing it. I like this is what I quit my law career to do, was to get
Mm,
up in front of people and sing and to tell my stories. And so I just keep doing it. And I mean, honestly, when especially when we get outside of Nashville, we get a great turnout. People
mm,
are still, even with all of the things that I just talked about, people are still coming out, and
yeah.
and especially in Texas, those people get out and they dance their asses off, and we love to see them. And like I've been dreaming of getting over to the UK and Europe because in my experience, y'all come out for it.
Mm,
Y'all support music and
mm.
and you're here for it. So hopefully one day soon I'll get over there too. But yeah, it's hard,
Yeah.
but I keep doing it.
Yeah, no, it is, and like if you need any help for the UK and Europe, let me know. But I've been having these conversations lately because the UK is tough as well. Like, we were meant to have Grey Delisle play with us
Yeah,
on
I love
Saturday,
Gray.
but then we had to cancel because of ticket sales were just, it just didn't work out, and it was heartbreaking because as a fan, I wanted
Oh, that's
that show to
hard.
go on. But even those type of shows where she's a Grammy winner, one of the most incredible kind of voice actors ever,
Yeah,
phenomenal country singer, phenomenal writer. It should have been a slam dunk. And it's
yeah,
just one of those things where people just weren't showing up, and you're like, what else do we kind of need to do? And I had a
yeah.
message from a guy who wants to come over, and he was saying, I want to come over because we've just found out my wife's pregnant. She's due in November, so I need to come over before that kind of happens. And I was like,
Yeah.
I have a kid. I can't in good conscience recommend you come over to fucking the UK
Yeah.
where the pay isn't as good as Europe. Europe pays you, gives you accommodation, gives you food. UK doesn't do those things. And I was
Yeah.
like, I can't in good conscience book you at all or give you any other advice other than save your money because you've got a fucking kid on the way. There's bigger priorities to
Yeah.
touring UK, and it's one of those hard things where the reality of the situation and kind of the economy and all those things against the dreams of being a musician, the need to play live, and also I think the equation of people needing to pay their dues and performing at a loss sometimes get blurred. Where it's like I
Yeah.
do believe in you have to play the shit shows, you have to play to no one sometimes, but
Mm.
not at this level currently of what's happening. Where it's just one
Yeah.
of those things. So if you are coming over, do Europe. We'll see about the UK, but it is one of those things where it's
Yeah.
looking realistically at those things, and I think that's the hard conversations to have currently because unless you are willing to kind of take losses for a long time and you're able to incur those losses, it's such a hard thing to do. And that's why
Yeah.
I've kind of minimized touring and gigging because, again, with a kid and with my own responsibilities, it's one of those things that's just untenable.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. And I'm hoping, I don't know, I'm a fatal optimist, I guess. Like
Yeah.
I'm just I always like I'm old enough to know that there's always a shift.
Yeah.
And I'm really I'm cautiously optimistic that there will be a shift and live music, especially for artists like on our level, will
Yeah.
come back. That you know, like it wasn't too long ago that there was just this fire and fever to discover new artists. That was the cool thing
Yeah.
to do. And I think it'll come back. I think people are just, like I said, like in functional freeze, and everybody's just fighting for their fucking lives right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's, it's 2026, but COVID still feels like last year. And,
Yes.
I was talking to someone the other day where I was like, the generational trauma from these things is
Mm,
not going to come to light for another 20 years, probably. And we won't realize how frozen we were
for
until,
real.
and it's one of those things, but it's the world still spins. And, with music venues closing down, like I know in my heart of hearts, if every venue closed, some punk kid will find a PA system and set it up in a church basement. It's
Yeah.
going to happen either way, but what should also happen is musicians should be able to earn a living and get a decent rate for their shows. And it's those things work in such
Amen.
opposition sometimes. So it is kind of, it's easy to go doom and gloom, but like yourself, it's like it's cyclical. There's optimism in a way that, people are showing up, and that's the important thing, but it's just finding those people and getting to play in front of them, I think, is the important thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And doing anything and everything that you can to get it out there. You know, I mean, like I don't love TikTok, but I get on there and
Yeah.
I put my shit on TikTok because it's just another way
Yeah.
to reach like two more people or 10 more people, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I've talked about this before, but I hate the kind of the holier than thou. Hank Williams wouldn't be on TikTok. Well, I've got an LP on here that I did the fucking March of Dimes radio adverts. So that to me was the
Yeah.
1950s equivalent of TikTok. People did the jingles, people shook the babies and kissed their hands, and they did those things. So to say
Yes.
that like anyone's above doing a 30-second TikTok clip's ridiculous.
I think it is ridiculous. I think that you have if you are trying to get your music heard, if you want to be heard, you have to do whatever it is to make people hear it.
Hmm.
And you can't just kind of sit back on your on the pedestal on which you put yourself and say, well, you know, if the music's good, they'll find it, because
No,
that's just not logistically realistic.
no. No, but obviously you've got a tour to get ready for Texas, so I don't want to keep you too long. Is there anything about Texan crowds that you've played to before that is different to Nashville or different places in the States that you said they show up and they dance their ass off? Is that kind of the constant reliable thing about Texans?
Yeah, I mean, I like every time I've toured, I've done several tour runs in Texas, and that those are some music loving sons of guns. I mean, they are here for it. It's part of their, it's woven into their culture and their lives, and it's not an accessory. It's a
Mm,
part of their lives. So, it's just we just have a ball when we go there. Last time we went there, we had a date that we were trying to fill in the Lonesome Rose in San Antonio, which is usually where we would go. It was already booked. And I reached out to their sister bar, High Tones, and High Tones is like a goth punk bar. And I was like, listen, I know I'm country. I like, don't let the cowboy hat fool you. Like, we can make this weird. I promise you. And they were like, okay. And we blew the roof off of that place. And so like even you know even outside of like the traditional Texas country and Texas swing, like there are punkers and goths there that are they're out.
yeah.
They're going to see they're going to see music shows. And they had a great time with this, you know, little hillbilly.
Yeah. Amazing with kind of the gothy tongue stuff. I've always found the goths, the punks, the metalheads easier to win over with country music than, hardcore country fans. Have you found that with your stuff?
Yes, because the goths and the punks and the metalheads, like they honestly they're here for it if it's good.
Yeah.
if it's good, they will embrace it, and they will go with it, and so you just got to make sure it's good.
Amazing. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Have an amazing tour over in Texas. Do you have any other runs kind of planned for the next few months or so?
Yeah, I've got a really full calendar. The whole thing's posted on Instagram on Flyer, but after Texas, we're going to North Carolina and Birmingham, Alabama, and then I'm going out to LA to do a one-off there with some of my LA players at Grand Ole Echo, and there's a bunch of other stuff in July that I can't remember right now. And then we're going kind of like up north into upstate New York and back in August. We'll be in Pittsburgh, and I am also going out as an opener for another very well known like outlaw country artist that I can't announce it yet, but I'll be doing that in September
Amazing.
and probably into October. So I'm looking forward to that because he's the real deal, and I'm excited to get to go out and make music with him and his team.
Amazing. Well, enjoy Texas, enjoy the tours. Congrats on the album and the
Thank
reception of it.
you.
It's really well deserved. It's a fucking killer album. And yeah,
Thank you.
have a
I
good
really
one.
appreciate it. I was really excited to get to talk to you today. I love what you're doing, and yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
No, of course, I felt so guilty because I know we were trying to do something in 2024 for your previous album, but the baby was one, and
Yeah,
it's
there are only so many hours in the day,
there
so it's
truly
all
is.
good. It's all good.
And that was episode 80 of the Rogue Country Podcast with India Ramey in the bag. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. We're almost at 10,000 downloads for this podcast, which is absolutely insane. So thank you so much to everyone who is listening. Thank you so much to everyone who is supporting Rogue Country and supporting country music in the UK. Thank you so much to all the incredible artists who are making good country that make this fight worthwhile. Keep it rogue, guys. Till next time.